Hello everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Textbook, where we get real about learning English. Today I have with me the infamous Derek Walsh, all the way from Ireland, who's one of our teachers here at Elite Language Centre. Welcome, Derek.
What an introduction. Hi, Aisha.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, you're from Ireland, but...
So my name is Derek, and as you say, I'm from Ireland. I've been in Malaysia for about 7 years now, and I've been at Elite School I'm in my 4th year here now.
Wow, yeah. And for those people who are listening who are not familiar with Derek, he's one of our IELTS specialists here. He takes the IELTS preparation class, which brings me to what this topic is all about today, which is it's going to be all about IELTS. And we're going to call it a brainstorm because there's going to be a few questions we're going to cover, but this will just be the first of a few IELTS podcasts we're going to do. So maybe first of all, Derek, if you can tell us a little bit about what actually is IELTS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, IELTS, the word itself, IELTS, stands for the International English Language Testing System, which is a bit of a mouthful, as is the word IELTS itself. A lot of our students happen to call it IELTS a lot of the time. But so basically that's what it is. It's a standardized test for to assess your level or your proficiency of English. Yeah, and it's broken down into 4 parts. It tests the core skills of speaking, reading, listening, and writing. Okay,
and what kind of people want to do this sort of test?
Well, there's 2 types of IELTS. So one is the general IELTS, which a lot of countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK require when people want to move there, want to emigrate to those countries, and so they want to be sure that those people who are coming have a basic command of the English language. So they would use the general IELTS to test those people. But mostly the students who come here to Elite College that I teach, they need it for entrance to university. So they do a format of IELTS called academic IELTS, and so the universities will require that they have certain levels of English depending on the course that they want to take. So for example, doing medicine would require a much higher band or score than a general science course.
Okay, yes, and I know in Malaysia it varies quite considerably, particularly if you're doing IT even, or something that's quite a technical course. It's not quite so important, but if you're taking on something like medicine or something that requires more of an international understanding of everything, it's quite complex. So really it's for adults, right?
Yeah, it is for adults, yes. So I have not come across any children who would require to take it so far, but who knows in the future.
Yes, there's geniuses out there, I know. So it's a pretty tough course too, I believe.
It is tough, yeah. I mean, it's open to everybody, but it really depends on what level you need, what level you require. So if you're looking to do something very advanced, then to achieve the necessary score, then there's a lot of hard work to do, and it really depends on the level of English that you come in with at the start, and how much work you need to do to go from that level to the level required either by the country you're migrating to or the university that you're going to study in. For some it's easier for some than others, because it depends on the level of English that you've already got.
And it's not something you can just jump right into. You really have to become proficient in English first, right?
Yeah, you do. It's not something that you could just do straight from elementary. You really have to have a firm base of firm grasp of the English language. So there's no dedicated grammar exam in the IELTS, but in fact your grammar is tested when you're writing and in your speaking as well. So they are looking for the correct use of the tenses and the prepositions and singles and plurals, and all of those things are assessed when you're speaking and writing. So you do have to have that basic knowledge before you can try it.
So one of the key questions is that for this IELTS course, for the IELTS test, a lot of schools offer IELTS preparation as a course. I know we do, obviously at Elite, and you're one of our teachers that takes the IELTS preparation course, delivers it. Who would you say are the right kind of candidates for that course?
Well, I mean, anybody who needs to take IELTS should take a preparation course, because the course itself is not about teaching you English. It's about teaching you how to get through that exam and the tips and tricks about passing the exam. So even a native speaker, if they were moving to, for example, to Australia, from Ireland to Australia, for example, a native speaker would also need to take that
Really?
to the IELTS. Yes, because
Really?
they want to be sure that although you might have an Irish passport, it doesn't mean that you grew up there and speak English proficiently. You know?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I do have an example I knew of an Irish doctor who worked in Ireland for years. English was his first and only language, and decided to move to Australia and had to take the IELTS exam as part of his application process, and actually didn't get the required required level, simply because he hadn't taken a preparation course beforehand, and he really didn't know what to expect in the exam. So he went in thinking, well, it's an English exam, of course I can ace this, no problem. But then was completely thrown by the format of the exam and the times and all of those different things. So he was unable to get into Australia the first time, but then he took a preparation course, retook the exam, and it was successful the second time. So anybody who needs to take IELTS should take a preparation course first.
That's actually a really good thing to remember, because the IELTS itself does require a lot of skills in terms of not just your English, but the like you say, the format of how the exam is put together, and the right approaches to try to tackle each question.
Yes.
And it's
because there are lots of different question types. For example, in the reading, you would have sometimes you have multiple choice questions, sometimes you have true, false, or not given questions, sometimes you have to complete a sentence with some missing words, and the instructions are very specific, and if you don't follow those instructions, for example, it might tell you that you can only complete a sentence with one word, and sometimes students will complete it with 2 words, and one of those words is the correct answer, is the word that you're looking for, but because you put the second word there, you will get 0 for that question.
wow.
So it's about learning about how to read the questions, follow the instructions, and give them exactly what they're looking for.
And I think one of the common problems is a lot of our students anyway, think that oh well, let me just try it. No, you really got to know how to approach it.
Really do. So IELTS really, if I could put one word to describe IELTS, that it's really a test of paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing. What do you mean by that?
Well, that means basically, that you say the same thing, but you use different words. Okay, so it's using synonyms and restructuring a sentence to say the same thing. So, for example, in a reading text, the question might say one thing, and in the text it says the same thing, but it says it using different words, so the meaning is the same. So you need to compare both and say, yes, this sentence, this question, and this sentence in the text, they actually mean the same thing. So I can answer true for this, but they don't say exactly the same thing in the same words. So it's really a test that you know how to say the same thing in different ways.
Wow.
So paraphrasing is a big part of it, and that's a very high-level skill, actually. So it's not something that you can do just after learning English for a couple of months. You really have to have a firm base, a good vocabulary, and a good grasp of grammar before you can attempt these things.
And also, it is about, except for the general training IELTS exam, the academic one is really about being at that tertiary education level.
Absolutely, because the listening, what you have to listen to, a lot of that is related to academic subjects. So you'll be listening to a speech or a lecture from a professor about some scientific subject, or about nature or biology or something like that. And you have to, although you may never have heard of or have had any interest in this subject before, there you are, you have no choice, you have to listen to it and you have to answer the question. So you have to have an appreciation of what a university is. And the kind of format of lectures and tutorials and those types of things, because the format of the exam is based around an academic situation.
Which actually takes us to the next question, which is, what do you think is the most difficult IELTS task?
I think for me, and from my experience of teaching, that students struggle mostly with reading. It is the most difficult one. And it's not because the reading is difficult, don't get me wrong, there's nothing easy about it, but really the biggest drawback of the reading exam is the time in which you have to complete everything. You have a lot to do in a very short time. So you're given 1 hour, and basically in that hour you have to read 3 long passages which are about 900 words each.
Wow.
And you have to answer 40 questions, and before that 1 hour is up, you have to make sure that all of those answers are written correctly onto an answer sheet as well. So you have to do all of that in 1 hour, which leaves you like 20 minutes per question. So what students struggle with the most is accepting that they don't have time to read it in detail. They don't have time to read every word and to understand every word and absorb the meaning, and then have time to answer the questions. I mean, a lot of students would like an hour per passage if they could, and in fact it doesn't work out that way. So they really have to get to grips with the fact that they have to skim read it. They need a general understanding of what the passage is about, and then use the tips and tricks that we teach them in the class to locate the answers in the passage without understanding it 100%. So that's the biggest thing, because it's a time factor. Really you're really up against it in the reading exam.
Exactly. So with that, therefore, overall, if you could offer one piece of advice to an IELTS student, what do you think that would be?
I think the best thing you could do, of course everybody needs practice, that's kind of an obvious thing, but I think outside of the preparation class, I think the best thing you could do is to keep up to date with the news, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
To watch a news program every day, or read a newspaper, or pick up some kind of academic magazine or something like that, to stay up to date with what's happening now, because the subjects that come up in the IELTS themselves are usually very topical things. So they're often about things like climate change, global warming, advances in science, medical things, all of those kind of things. And every day you pick up the newspaper or read a news website or something like that, there are lots of stories about those types of things.
So you become familiar at least with the concepts that are being talked about. And so if somebody, for example, gets familiar with let's say climate change, and there are some difficult vocabulary in the reading or in the listening or whatever, what would you advise them to do? Like they think, I've listened to lots of programs on climate change, and there I get climate change in my IELTS exam, and sitting there and I'm thinking, but I don't know what these words mean. That wasn't in the YouTube video I watched last week. What would you say to that?
So it's going to happen. It's not an if, it's an actual thing. It's definitely going to happen, where you're going to sit down, you're going to see words that you've never seen before. So the first thing you have to do is just not panic and remember what you learned in the class, in the preparation class. You're going to look for synonyms of things. You're going to see if things are in the present or in the past, and then you're going to look at the prepositions that follow those words, and then you're going to know if you're looking for a noun, if it's something single or plural that you're looking for, or it's an adjective before a noun. So you've trained yourself to know what type of word you're looking for, and you've trained yourself to know where in the passage you can locate this information. So you will zoom directly to, I saw something about that in paragraph number 2. So you'll go back to there, and then it's a case of reading maybe that sentence in more detail. And perhaps you don't understand the words in those details, but using those tricks of, I'm looking for an adjective, because the question shows me I'm looking for an adjective, so I look for an adjective in the text. Or maybe it ends with ed, and here I have something with ed. So sometimes you are taking a stab in the dark with the answers, but you're taking an educated stab in the dark. But you're not,
that's the approach.
You're not
educated stab in the dark. Sounds good to me.
That's often the case, because particularly with the time factor, you're rushing so much that sometimes when it comes down to it, maybe the last few questions you're really guessing the answers, because you really have no time. And it's better to have an answer than no answer. Exactly. Because with no answer, you will get 0. But if you try an answer, and even if it's a blind guess, you never know, it might be the right one. But as I say, you're taking an educated guess at it, because you know what kind of word you're looking for, you know where it is in the text. And it's just a case of picking the right word out of the text then in that case. So that would be my advice.
Well, thank you, Derek. We've tackled a few issues on the IELTS exam. So and you've given us some great answers.
Yeah, I hope I was some help.
Hope that's going to be of interest to our listeners. I'm sure it will be. So thank you again.
Okay, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
We'll have you on another time about something else. And
sure, I'd be happy to talk again.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye.